Well, I'm so glad that you came in because I go to you all the time for politics in Rhode Island, and just there's no shortage of things to talk about right
Absolutely
now.
not.
So, what are the big discussions the classes that you're teaching right now?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about how national politics is playing into that in discussions with the students.
Well, I'm teaching a class on Congress, and it's clear there's a big, debate about Obamacare,
yes,
or Obamacare Light, whatever you
Trump
want to call
care,
it.
Obamacare,
right? So we talk
Trump
about
Obamacare.
That's exactly right. And then I'm teaching gender and politics, and there's never a loss for words on that particular subject. I'm also teaching a history of democracy and what it takes to keep a democracy strong and vibrant. And there, of course, we see a different approach to democracy from the current president. So that also keeps us engaged. And urban politics, which actually gives us the opportunity to talk a lot about Providence. So there are multiple opportunities to talk about both state and local politics and national politics in my courses.
Very good. Now, again, this is International Women's Day. It's
yes,
so we were speaking of gender and politics. What did you think? And this is a recent past. The whole Kellyanne Conway kneeling on the couch bit. Right. What was your take on that?
Well, my take on that was that she's being picked on in the same way that lots of women in politics are being picked on, and I would prefer that we not focus on the way she was sitting on the couch, but rather on what she says and how she's advising the president and the impact that she's having on public policy. So I really would have preferred that they not focus, the media not focus.
There was a huge focus that day. Do you think it was just because it was a slow news cycle, or is it just the salaciousness of it? It's like, ooh, she's kneeling.
I vote for the salaciousness of it. Yes, I do. And I think she was clearly trying to take a picture of the assembled presidents of universities. Who knows why she sits the way she sits, but I do wish we would talk about something a little bit more important.
So you, as talking about gender and politics, and as you said, picking apart the non-germane aspects, especially of a female candidate, coming out of the presidential election and with Hillary Clinton, do you see, does it have a chilling effect on women who decide to run by the level of scrutiny that is, and oftentimes irrational scrutiny that's placed on women in the public sphere?
Yes, well, Jennifer Lawless, who used to work at Brown and now works at American University, does fabulous work on this, on why women don't run for office and don't want to step into the arena. And one of them has to do with the intense scrutiny, and it's less about the how the woman receives the scrutiny, but as opposed to how her family receives the scrutiny. So women will back away if they see that this is going to hurt their family. And when I first ran for office for town council in Barrington, my kids were teenagers, and I did worry about that. Teenagers don't like folks looking at them. But my boys were both wonderful, and they actually ended up being rather proud of me, and they participated in my campaigns, and we had good table talk about politics. But that is one of the things that keeps women out.
I mean, is it bringing the attention to the forefront so that folks know about this? And is it behaviors in social media? Is it behaviors in conversation? Is it behaviors in just media coverage? So how do we address the situation from where we're at right now?
Well, it's the media that's doing it, right? It's the media that is focusing on these characteristics of female candidates, and they should just stop. They should just stop. I know it's hard. These are long standing patterns, and women have only been in electoral politics for really the last 30 or 40 years in any meaningful way, and really since 1995, 96 in a really powerful way. So it is a change of habit for the media and for opponents to draw attention to these things. But the more women get involved, the easier it will get for them to be in the arena. And they support each other. And there are also all these wonderful organizations out there, Emily's List and so forth, that do training for women and teach them how to deal with it's a hard place to be.
Yes.
Even if the focus is not on your appearance, it's a hard place to be.
So you think just by sheer numbers, getting more women involved just in the process will diffuse that sort of approach and make it level the playing field?
Yes, absolutely. And their male allies can also be very helpful. There are a lot of wonderful men in politics who do support their female colleagues in really important ways. When I first got onto the town council in Barrington, one of my colleagues pointed out to me that one of the folks who was addressing us kept referring to me by my first name and him by Mr. And I called the person on that, and that's one way to correct things, is to get everyone on the same page by pointing things out.
So it's interesting. Someone had asked me, as actually I was doing another show, and they asked about the difference between Hillary being called Hillary. Donald was Donald, but he was, more Trump.
Yeah.
But Hillary, I saw as a differentiation from her husband.
Yes.
and her own identity. And that was a choice that she made. It wasn't inflicted upon her by the press. It was, I'm going to be Hillary.
I think that's right. And because we had another important Clinton in the White House, I think that is true. And she did embrace that.
Yes.
All of her bumper stickers and all that were.
I think it was Jim Hummel who had asked me that question. And I was like, I really hadn't thought. I'm like, no, I think she took it on, and that was the identity that she wanted to promote, and it wasn't forced on her by anybody else.
But when she was Secretary of State, we hope that people did not address her that way.
As Hillary.
Secretary Clinton, yeah.
As Madam Secretary.
That's exactly right.
So let's talk a little bit about national politics and what's been going on this week. And again, President Trump's accusations that his phone was tapped by the previous administration. I think today they came out and said that the White House could not offer proof of this. Mm-hmm. Do we see this continue to go on for days and weeks, or what happens now?
Well, I mean, he accused the former president of this, and there's no proof of it, so he's asked Congress to look into it. I haven't heard Congress's response to that. I would hope it would just go away. I don't think anyone has an appetite. Anyone believes that this is actually the case, so it's up to him to drop it.
So what's the backlash against him? So he comes out, he tweets it and says it, and then poof, it goes away. From his own political capital, he's ruling sort of by tweeting, a little bit by edict.
Right.
But is there any fallout for him saying, "Oh, don't have the proof"?
Well, as we watched the campaign and the new administration, political scientists said, "Oh, this is it. He said the last thing. This is the thing that's going to do."
You are correct,
and it never happens. So I imagine this will pass, and then the next bizarre thing will come out of his Twitter feed, and we will let that go. Folks have come to expect this from him, unfortunately.
So is this just, again, I mean, folks have written about this and talked about this, but just turned American politics on its head completely from everything that you've known and taught or we learned in school?
Right.
Is it just a new world order?
So it is unsettling for political scientists to have been so wrong about how, Hillary Clinton followed all the rules that one should follow when one is running a presidential campaign, and it didn't work. And Donald Trump followed none of the rules, and it worked. So we do have to take a look at what it was we were not seeing, and certainly political scientists and public opinion researchers missed that entire swath of the American electorate that was deeply dissatisfied and chose to vote for Trump over Clinton. So it is a whole new world, I think, or it's refocused people's attention on things that they may not have been looking at before. But he certainly has a different approach to the presidency. So, and he's doing things again that shouldn't work and haven't worked for past presidents. Why it works with him is an interesting question that political scientists and others are going to have.
It might be a little too early to sort of parse right now, but we're all keeping close tabs on it as it happens real time.
Right, right. And people like John McCain, who are vociferous in their opposition to these tactics, can be very helpful in, not from an academic research perspective,
Go closer here to the red tape.
Sorry,
there we go.
But from a political perspective, in terms of pushing back on him in ways that journalists apparently cannot, right? They keep raising this, and it doesn't matter. But I think John McCain and Lindsey Graham, these are Republicans who are esteemed and respected, and they may be able to help a little bit in reframing people's attention on what the president's doing.
And speaking of the press, what do you have to say about Sean Spicer not allowing cameras into the press briefings? I mean, talk a little bit about your take on the relationship between the White House and the press corps, who's covering the White House there.
Well, as I've said before, that's chapter 7 on the book on the American presidency, how to deal with the media, and it is a struggle for control over the picture that the public has of the president.
Yep.
Presidents have their communications operation, and journalists have their mandate to search for truth and present it objectively, and so that you're always going to have a struggle, but presidents can't get away with, or their staff can't get away with these kinds of tactics. It just doesn't work. The media has the megaphone, and if the press secretary is not willing to speak into that megaphone, it's not going to help at all.
Well, it's like when they didn't allow certain news organizations into the press briefing.
Did that stop the New York Times? Did they just go home to New York? No, it did not.
Now that's often, I found in my role is, if I can't get that immediate access, you go to plan B, which is to get response, and then that's a whole different story, and not the story that the original person wanted out in the first place.
And, for old people like me, Watergate is the big framing event about redefining the role between the media and the president from lapdog to watchdog. And I think the watchdog is still there and certainly ready to act. It's essential for the maintenance of democracy. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's, we consider ourselves watchdogs here from what we do on a daily, and always love picking your brain about national and local politics. Now, again, we're here in March 2017, but we are in cycle for 2018.
Already.
Emily's List coming out to endorse Gina Raimondo already. Talk to us a little bit about that. I've talked with some who perceived it maybe as sort of scaring off a more progressive candidate, saying we're putting our stake here in Governor Raimondo and believe in what she's doing. Have you seen endorsements that early in the cycle?
I have not. You see friends endorsing and fellow Democrats endorsing, but having organizations endorse before anyone has even expressed interest in getting in is unusual. Certainly good for her, though, isn't it?
It is. Do you think it was, though, again, let's talk about the primary in which she was very supportive of Hillary Clinton. And, of course, as we know, Bernie Sanders was successful here. Let's talk about Democratic politics. How do you see that playing out, especially in the gubernatorial race, with the more progressive side of the party? And the governor, again, having supported Hillary Clinton. How do you see Democratic politics playing out in this coming election cycle here?
Well, you can see Democratic politicians moving or leaning to their left. The free college proposal, so-called free college proposal, is certainly, that came right out of Sanders' playbook.
Yes.
So the governor's adoption of that, I'm sure it's genuine. Her support is genuine, but that is a nod to the Sanders part of the Democratic Party in Rhode Island.
So you feel that the progressives, having gotten that momentum in the election, are really having an impact
Yes.
on the Democratic Party here.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been to a couple of Democratic Party events since the election, and the room is lively, noisy, and leaning to the left. And I went to one of the open house, not what are they called, town halls.
Town halls,
for
yeah.
the elected
Which one?
officials, the ones at East Providence
East
High
Providence.
School. That was big and noisy and leaning way to the left. So the politicians understand that that's where the energy is in the Democratic Party right now.
And, we talked about the governor's free college tuition proposal, but talk about our delegation. I mean, Senator Whitehouse, Senator Reid are very much in the crosshairs of more progressive parts of the party, especially as their responses to Trump's appointments. Yeah. Do you see any political ramifications for them with the activity on the progressive side of the party?
Well, Democrats and Republicans have a tendency to eat their young, and I would hate to see that. I mean, Senator Whitehouse is a solid progressive Democrat, and
you say eating their young,
right?
Cutting off the nose to spite the face,
right.
so to speak.
Challenging him from the left, I think, would be a loss for the party. I really do. I think Senator Whitehouse, if you look at his record and look at the weekly speeches he gives on climate change, there really is, he's a progressive champion. And I do think I did hear at the East Providence High School meeting people threatening to challenge him from the left if he voted yes on any of Trump's appointments. And I do think that's unfortunate. But the emotion is very high right now. I do understand that. But again, I think that would be problematic. The Tea Party did that, and challenging good Republicans, good conservative Republicans from the right, and ended up removing some of them.
I did see some national commentary about that, about
the
example of the Tea Party, like as a warning shot to where Democratic politics are right now.
Right, and that of course pulled the National Republican Party to the right and deepened partisanship. I'm not blaming the hyper-partisanship only on the Republicans, but if the Democrats pull hard left and the Republicans are already pretty far over there on the right, that doesn't bode well for getting things done in Washington.
So how would you give a letter grade to President Trump? Now, June Speakman, staunch Democrat.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Yeah.
Unabashed.
Yeah.
Talk to us about his speech last week. That's a little bit of an aberration, I feel, that folks in the press had pointed out from his first few weeks in office.
Yes.
He did get a lot of some kudos from places that you wouldn't have thought he would have.
Yeah.
What did you think of the speech?
Well, the speech was a traditional State of the Union address. I know it wasn't technically State of the Union, but it was a traditional State of the Union type address where the president, newly elected president, lays out his agenda for Congress. He was not as specific as most presidents are, but he stayed on text. You could tell he was reading. You can always tell when he's reading from his teleprompter, and whoever wrote that for him understood what you're supposed to do in these circumstances. And as long as he didn't veer from that, he was okay.
So do you think the bar was not set terribly high?
Well, I mean, where is the bar with Donald Trump, right? It's all over the place. So I think folks expected him to do what he had done the week before in his 77-minute press conference, and he didn't do that. So if that was the bar, that was very low, and he did better than that.
So you started off our conversation with telling us about the classes that you have going on in school.
Right.
Let's look into a little bit into the future research, things that you're going to be focusing on. Do you want to keep us in the loop with that?
Well, I am interested in what's happening in local Democratic parties and the extent to which there are more progressives coming into the town committees and the state committees, and the extent to which what the progressives did in the last cycle in Rhode Island will be duplicated. So will we be seeing more progressive challengers to some of these long-standing incumbents on Smith Hill. And so how the Democratic Party is changing as an organization to the victory of Trump and the defeat of Clinton is something that I'm interested in. They did not elect Keith Ellison as the Democratic National Committee chair, so that's a sign that the old school establishment still has some sway, at least at the national headquarters. But I'm interested in how what's going to happen in local parties and whether they're going to be pulled to the left. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at. And I'm also doing, I have a long-standing piece on Central Falls, which is, I'm finishing up that on sort of how the General Assembly handled the bankruptcy, and if there's a model to be found in there or models in other states to be, that's sort of off the top.
How soon are you going to be thinking this will be out there that we can talk with you about?
Which one?
Oh, the Central Falls.
Yeah, that's pretty much done. I'm working with the Research Collaborative of Rhode Island, which is funded by, it's all the universities participating, and it's funded by the General Assembly. So it's sort of up to the Research Collaborative when they want to release the...
Well, that sounds like something I definitely want you back in for to talk about.
Great.
Oftentimes it comes up here in conversation when we talk about Providence, talk about local
yeah.
all the time. So if you have empirical evidence from Central Falls, I really look forward to talking with you about this.
Give me a couple more weeks.
We'll give you a couple more weeks. But before we let you go, we do have to ask you the trivia question.
Okay. All right.
You knew this was coming.
I saw with your last guest.
Well, it's fun. I mean, there's so
Nothing
much to
wrong with
love
fun.
about Rhode Island.
There is,
Pick
there
a
is,
card,
there
any
is.
card.
All right. Oops, sorry.
So you can't say that I set you up with a
Yeah.
card. Okay.
No.
I tell you, it's hilarious. There's so many cards, and the guests keep picking the same ones.
Oh.
The Blank brothers of Bristol built 5 victorious America's Cups yachts starting in 1893. Who were Bristol's brothers that built the yachts?
Is it the Harrishoff?
It's the Harrishoffs.
Right. I work in Bristol. I drive by Harrishoff
I do.
every
Like
day.
she's an East Bay resident.
That's right.
She knows this. But it's a fun game because
Yes, it
there's
is.
there's
It's
just
great.
so much Rhode Island trivia.
I didn't know it existed. I'm going to have to find that.
Yeah. So actually, someone told us. I guess after watching this show, they went looking for it. I think it was Matt Schaaf in the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, and he said he couldn't find it anywhere. I think, got it off of eBay used.
Oh.
So it's like a collector's items on top.
Oh.
So maybe he was trying to learn them all so
Right.
that when Stephen Pryor comes on, he'll be
Or
ready
he
to
needs an
go.
update. That could be a research project for my students, right?
Yes, no, there was some data information on here, but we have a good laugh
Yeah,
about it,
the
and we
question.
are getting prizes. So next time you come in,
Ooh.
there'll be prizes
Okay.
for how you do
Excellent.
on the
Great.
trivia. Gene
Great.
Speakman, I appreciate your
Thank
coming
you,
in
Kate.
today so
Thank you
much.
very
Look
much.
forward to talking about Central Falls and anything else you want to talk
All
about.
right, very
Okay.
good.
Have a
Thank
safe trip
you.
home. Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Everyone, that was June Speakman at Roger Williams University, professor of political science. So glad to have her here into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Oftentimes pick her brain on state and national politics. Very big Democratic operative here, but good to pick her brain on how she views the Trump administration so far, and also what she thinks, might be some things to look at, looking at within the party to the more entrenched establishment side. But as she mentioned, finishing up some research into the bankruptcy of Central Falls and how they emerged from that and lessons to be learned. So as folks oftentimes talk about it being on the table here in Providence, that will be a very interesting discussion and read, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to that. So it has been a full day here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Had Patrick Kennedy talking about smart approaches to He's been very opposed to legalization. Explain to us why. Now, there is an event taking place here in Rhode Island tomorrow. Attorney General Peter Kilmartin and others coming out against legalization of marijuana. Talked with, again, a number of folks. Rachel Flum with the Economic